Hello, my name's Paul Jones. You may recognise me from Warley videos, YouTube videos, as I'm the exhibition manager at the moment of Warley MRC. But today we're taking a visit to my railway project, Hadley Junction. You'll see there, it's based on the Great Western Railway in the mid-30s. This is my railway room, which I had constructed upon my retirement to house the railway. The railway is based on Ore Junction, slightly modified to create more operational interest and more storage space for my rolling stock, which I have quite a large quantity. And it's a continuous run layout on the South Wales main line, the old South Wales main line, between Gloucester and Severn Tunnel Junction in the Forest of Dean on the west bank of the Severn. So perhaps you'd like to come inside and see what we're up to in these early stages of the layout. We're now inside my railway room. You can see we're working on the layout today. It's a continuous run layout, as I said. In front of you, you can see my colleague Nigel, I'll introduce in a moment, working on the scenic side of the layout, on the track work, whereas on the side in front of me here is the storage sidings. The layout itself is 19 feet by 16 feet, just about large enough to do a continuous run O gauge layout and make it worthwhile. I can run a 7-coach mainline train on it, and I can run 20 plus wagons in a freight train, which is a nice length in O gauge. You can probably see the back scene in the background there. That was painted by our colleague at Warley Model Railway Club, Alan Searle. And to the right hand side behind the coaches you will see the River Severn, because as I said earlier, this layout is based on the Forest of Dean, West Gloucestershire, on the west bank of the River Severn. Now I'll introduce my colleague Nigel Smith. You may know him. If not, you may be aware that Nigel is to take over, subject to the AGM of Warley Model Railway Club in September, as exhibition manager for the club exhibition at the NEC each year. So Nigel is the exhibition manager designate, and we've been working a couple of years together as he prepares to take over the role from me later this year. So, hello Nigel.
Off yourself on that.
Thank you.
I'm Nigel Smith. Hopefully in September, when Paul retires after 40 odd years of doing the show manager, I will take over from Paul at that point. And I think most of the people in the club already know me, but if you don't, that's who I am, and you'll see me hanging around. Active member of the club, 82G layout upstairs, many of you will be familiar with. For this layout here with Paul, I'm helping him actually construct points, which we've already made, coming up for 10 of them now, so we're well on our way to completing the actual point layout.
So I think most of you will probably know Duncan Petford, who's now the trade officer for the Warley National Railway Exhibition. Duncan's a very active member of the club and has been involved in a number of projects, and he's here today finding out how we make points in O gauge for his own interest. Duncan, you?
Nigel, I've suddenly changed names. Yeah, I do the trade, the societies and the preservation bookings for the show at the NEC. I also am partly involved in Northbridge, partly involved in our DCC concepts layout, and you'll see me down the club most nights because I'm also the members rep.
Absolutely.
So what are you doing here today, other than...
I'm learning how you make points, the dark arts.
And what have you learned so far?
I'd like to say I've learned how to make a point, but we'll judge that if I ever get around to making my own points.
What's he like, Nigel, as a YTS boy? Is he any good?
He's not bad, is he?
Not bad.
It looks like he's listening, so that's always around.
I've managed to develop that skill over many years of looking like I'm listening. Doesn't actually mean to say I am.
Will you get a gold star from today?
Oh, we'll find out in a bit when he comes to the next point.
Okay, so we'll come back in a bit.
Right, well, I'm doing a bit of work on the railway. I'm putting some droppers in onto the storage road flap. Recently purchased a pair of DCC Concepts wire strippers, which I have to say are absolutely excellent, and they've simplified the process no end. Very easy to use. They do very fine wire to quite thick wire, so absolutely excellent. I recommend a pair of those if you see them at a show somewhere, or get them online. First class. So I have 5 power districts on this railway, and I've got 2 power districts for the storage sidings, and I'm just wiring some droppers on the flap, as I said, onto for the down power district. Don't watch too carefully at my soldering because I'm not very good at it, but it seems to do the trick at the end of the day. Not a difficult thing to do. You'll see I'm using these tag strips for the purposes of putting the droppers onto the buzz. This wire I'm using across the flap because it's relatively flexible, but the rest of the buzz is we're using 1 millimeter square lighting cable, which is running around the underside of the layout, and which did give me a bit of grief with an electric drill and my eye on one occasion, resulting in a bit of a gory mess, but I won't bore you with those details. So that's one done, I think. Yeah. Do the next one. All 3 roads here will then have power to them. Can't operate them as yet though, because we haven't got to the stage of putting point motors in place, but they are going to be operated on separate buzz using DCC Concepts levers and the Cobalt IP digital point motors. And there we are. That's no. I said my soldering wasn't very good, and that proves the point. Using a snifter and their alpha encoders for what will probably be about 30 points on this layout. Looks good in principle. We've got experience of using the point motors in the club, and we're pleased with them. So we'll see how the encoders work. It should be okay. It shouldn't be a problem. I'm still having problems with this putting this dropper in due to my inept soldering abilities. But I think we've got it now. Yeah, okay, there we are. No, as I said, still having problems with it due to my inept soldering abilities. But we'll get there. Right, there we go. Excellent. There we go.
That's why Paul just stick to the exhibition manager.
Having wired up that 3rd road on the down storage sidings, we'll now test it to see if the loco and short train will run the length. As I said, we can't run through the point work because we don't have those connected at this stage, and we'll see what happens. So we'll give that Minerva Pannier a little run and see what happens. Now the good news is that was successful, so that 3rd road is now fully wired and operable. Because my layout is being built up in my garden room at the bottom of the garden, but my workshop is at the back of the garage at the other end of the garden by the house, I need to have a way of transporting my tools backwards and forwards. So I bought this toolbox on wheels with a handle. Much easier to move things up and down because this toolbox is quite heavy. I'd like to thank my colleague who you met earlier, Duncan, for introducing me to this particular brand, DeWalt. It's a modular system and it is superb. I've also got a set with all my paints in it now, so it's all stacked together. And if I put it all together, it'll come about this high. Because this DeWalt drill, it also comes in a box which is designed to stack with the rest of it. So, very useful tool.
As mentioned earlier, I'm helping Paul actually build his track work at the moment. This is a point that I've just completed the construction. As you can see, it's ready to actually be mounted on the layout. The only thing left on this one, bar the wiring, is to put the tie bar on, but we won't do that until the point is actually mounted on the layout itself. We'll then drill through the board and fix the tie bar once it's in its permanent location. That's about 5 hours work gone into these points, and for each one. What we'll do later on is produce a video which shows you how to actually assemble one.
Hello, and this is my workshop where the serious activities of building models takes place. The railway is down the bottom of the garden in the railway room, but the modelling takes place at this workbench here. Nice swivel chair to make life easy to move around. You saw as Andy panned round all my bits and pieces. They're all down here. I'm allowed a certain amount of shelf space in this garage, and this workbench here on a simple Tesco fairly cheap desk which my son had surplus to requirements, and this is really useful for my modelling. I have a test track with a lens system for testing my decoders in my locomotives, and there's normally some projects on the go. At the moment I'm doing some weathering some new daypole wagons for the layout, and we just see how we go. I have some useful documentation on the wall, on the board here. That's a list of modifications I've got to make to a daypole terrier to make it a Western Cleveland Portishead number 5, and there's some dimensional charts, all useful stuff when it comes to working in the workshop. So that's how it gets done. Right, one of the projects coming up in the future on the YouTube channel is how I weather wagons. You've seen how Richard has done his. This is an O-gauge wagon, the same model actually, same wagon prototype, J. Jones & Co. This is a Daypole 7mm one we had commissioned, 47 of them, and I'm going to weather that in a future video. I've already made some simple changes to it, which I'll talk about in the video. The ones I did earlier type approach, in true Blue Peter style. So we'll see that in a future video, and I'll show you how I do my weathering, and you can see what you think of it. Right, we're inside the layout, and we've got to a stage where we can actually run a train on the down main line right around the circuit. It's really nice to be able to run a train from time to time. You'll see this running in a moment or two past me. You might have seen on the clips. It's an opportunity to test run some of the stock to make sure that the point work and the track work is all okay, and so far so good. As you can see, I'm running this layout on a lens system, which I've used for about 10 years, and I like. Not everybody's cup of tea, but I like it very much. The train you're seeing is a passenger train, obviously. The locomotive is a Helljan 63XX, to which I've put in a Zemo sound decoder, speaker and adapter board. The coaches, 6 coaches, are a mix of Great Western 1936 excursion stock and the top lights. I've tried to do some research on typical train formations for this particular line, and it would appear that none of the trains were particularly long for passenger purposes. In fact, the Wolverhampton to Carmarthen and return comprised only 4 passenger vehicles, a brake third, a compo, full third and a brake third. So this is a maximum sort of length of train I'm going to be looking to use, and it fits in the storage sidings, and I think fits well into the layout as a whole. It runs into the scenic section, through the scenic section, and out again without dominating it. So we'll see how things progress in a future edition of the YouTube video, hopefully. Thanks for watching.